I did want to touch on personal issues you've dealt with and demons that you faced. You've been sober for a long time now, and we talk about the importance of people that are struggling with mental health to seek help and be open and vulnerable about it, because I feel like there's this stigma of not showing your hand and not not asking for help and then bottling it up, and it festers even more. Because I think it's so important for people to hear that. But you've overcome a lot in your life, and you faced adversity, and you're still in the NHL performing at a high level around guys that still drink, and you're able to navigate and be comfortable and still be a leader without having to think that you have to participate. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it goes a little over 5 years now, and it's it's been, for me. I mean, I look back and now probably my biggest accomplishment in my life, I think. And I always say that if I wasn't sober, I wouldn't be talking to you guys today. I wouldn't still be playing. And like you said, Coach, like it's the stigma around, and I think I mean, our profession, our culture, athletes as a whole, it's, you work hard and you play harder, right? Like that's the way it is. That's the way it was coming into the league, and at a young age, and even junior. And, the whole stigma around, like you said, it's, no one talks about their feelings. No one talks about, if they're struggling or whatever it may be, and for me, that's what, because I did struggle with mental health and depression and anxiety and all this stuff. For me, the easiest out was to, drink and use, and that's kind of the way people go sometimes, right? If they're not feeling good, or things aren't going well, you numb yourself. And I think it's starting to get a little bit better. I think people are starting to talk about it a little bit more, but I think it's still a work in progress. And for me now, I think, at first, and I think after I had about a year of sobriety, I was pretty apprehensive about talking about it, and being open about my sobriety. But realizing that, I kind of have a platform, and, being a guy that can talk about it, maybe I realized, it's not about me, right? It's about everyone else, and it's about helping someone. And if me talking about it, us talking about it here, and someone's listening on the podcast and maybe they're struggling, they hear us talking about it and they're like, oh shit, I'm going to ask for help. If there's just one person, that's a win. And, I think it's just, it's a constant, I mean, for me, I always say, like, yeah, it's been 5 years, and that's a huge accomplishment, but like it doesn't end for me. It's not like I'm like, okay, I've reached the top, I've reached the pinnacle, that's it, I don't have to do anymore. Like it's an everyday thing for me. It's an everyday, like I said, like a muscle. I have to work at it. I have to work on my recovery. I have to work on my mental health, and I have to make sure that I'm in a good place, because if I'm not, then I'm not going to be the best version of myself to my teammates, whoever it is, especially my son, my family, everyone. And you want to make sure that we have one life, and you want to live it the right way. And I think being able to talk about your feelings and talk about your mental health and being open about it, that's, to me, like that's being brave, and that's bringing courage, and knowing that, like everyone says, knowing it's okay not to be okay. And like I said, I'm glad you brought it up. I'm glad you asked me about it, because I think it's something that needs to be talked about. It needs to be talked about more, and especially in the time we are right now, in the world we live in right now, with COVID and all this stuff, and these poor kids, that are having to do school at home, and all these different scenarios that people are going through. It's tough, and I think the more we talk about it, the more people hopefully will get help.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's a
Well
huge,
said.
huge lesson here too. Like you've mentioned it a couple times where it's like a muscle, right? Like mental health is something that needs constant work, just like the physical
Yeah,
body. If you want to stay in shape, you got to exercise and you got to do certain things. Like the mind's the same thing. And I
exact
think
same
like,
thing. Yep.
and a lot of times we talk about this on the back end of people's addictions or substance abuse and whatever else, but to me this needs to be a focus on the front end. You talk about youth hockey players, junior hockey players, all the way through pro. Like how many teams have you been on, or how many coaches have you talked to that have actually pushed the mental health and mental fitness component of it, right? I mean, it's like you got these strength coaches, you got all these different people in the organization, but to me, the mind is everything. And I still don't think in this day and age that we talk about this nearly enough. Not just like on the back end when we're struggling, but like on the front end. Like let's get ahead of this. Like let's not just to get ahead of it, like let's optimize this. Because I mean, you've seen it. Like there's a lot of guys that never make it, and it's not because they're not physical specimens, it's because of the mind, right? It's like they're not able to concentrate or focus, wherever it ends up being. But the mind can get away from you. So imagine if we actually spent some energy and time and resources on training the mind, and be able to control it. Maybe we wouldn't have to have some of these conversations on the back end where guys struggle because they don't have any tools to navigate. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think yeah, I mean, I think that's part of the reason, like I said, it's good that we talk about it now, because maybe some young kids, like, what, I'm gonna start doing meditation, or I'm gonna start doing all these different things that I need to do to help keep my mind sharp and keep me in a good headspace, because I don't want to, like you said, I don't want to get to that point where, like, for me, I had to help after, on the back end of it, of getting sober and all that. And I had to, you know, get back to a good place where why not get ahead of it? Where, yeah, like you said, if you're trying to be a hockey player physically, what are you doing? You're working out every day, you're working your legs, you're working your thing, whatever it may be. Well, it's the same thing, like you said, same thing with your mind. Why can't you do that too? I think you hit the nail on the head. I totally agree with that. And I think if, um, starting in minor hockey, even now into college pro, whatever it may be, I think if you could have a team that has a guy or a way to, take care of the mental side of things. I mean, I always say, I mean, if you're, your body, your body feels stress, right? Your body knows when you're stressed out, things don't work right. Sometimes guys get hurt, and a lot of that's all comes from your head, And
Yeah.
if your mind's not in a good place, if your mind's not in a good place, your body's not going to be in a good place. I think it goes hand in hand, and I think
Sure.
that I think you hit the nail on the head with that.
And how much of this like translates into your, your current present day performance? I mean, you're 5 years sober. I mean, it's got to be night and day the way you feel, physically and mentally, right? I mean, it's a different animal altogether. And how are you able to bring that around the locker room and still hold that leadership position? Because it's not about the booze; it's about you as the individual. You talk to
Yeah, I
that?
mean, I think, guys, our sport is so great, right? Like, you're the guys, I mean, we're biased, but, like, we had the hockey guys, or, in our people, or hockey people in our profession, are just such good people. I mean, from the time I got sober, and every team I've been on, guys are so supportive of me being sober, and love that I am. And, and guys are always respectful of that. And, I'm never a type of guy to be, I'm never going to tell a guy, hey, be careful of your drinking or whatever it may be. That's not my place. And guys can drink responsibly. I couldn't, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I couldn't control myself. They can. And it's not my place to tell what they should do. But at the same time, I just, I'm a guy that, you know, hopefully guy knows that I'm sober, and I try and make myself available to any guy if they want to talk, whatever it may be. And if maybe a guy is struggling mentally and, knows that I've been through it, and he knows maybe he can come talk to me, but I'm never a guy, because, I think with anything, you can't force someone
No.
to get help. They have to kind of want it. So I think in that way, I just try to, I think, lead by example, and come to the rink every day in a good mood and happy to be there, have fun with the guys. And and then, whenever we go out or when I'm with the guys, I try to be the last guy there with all the boys. I mean, that's, and I don't have any issues with that. But just, I hopefully guys know that I'm there, knows that, if there's something they need or want to talk about, or need help with anything, that, I'm a guy that they can lean on. And that's the cool part about now being sober, is being able to be, a guy that's, someone, I think that's what it's all about, is helping people, right?
Yeah.
And for me, if I'm helping somebody, I'm inevitably helping myself.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way I look at it. So hopefully, the guy, whoever I play with on whatever team, is comfortable to come talk to me. And that's kind of the way that I go, I go about it.
They're lucky to have you, man. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a-
Thank you.
Yeah, super important work, and much respect for you to first of all acknowledge it, and then act on it. You have the discipline to do it, and then there's not many guys that are current players that have gone through this and are sober that are still playing. I think it's usually after the fact, after they retire, that they kind of identify they have a problem, and they try and fix it. But props to you, because you said, I think talking about this and being vulnerable is the only way you could really help people, because if you bottle it up and don't talk about it, then no one really knows the struggles you've gone through. And from what I've learned, is the more you talk about things, the more you can accomplish and more people you can help.
Yeah,
So
exactly. I agree. Yeah.
some real good work there. It's not an easy thing to do, and facing your demons is, no one ever wants to do it, but it's necessary if you want to if you want to have a higher quality of life, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, no, it is. I mean, you said it. I mean, and whatever it may be. I mean, even if, and I'm not saying that, even if maybe you don't have a drinking or drug problem, but you still have mental health issues.
Mhm.
I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean,
Right.
mental health is mental health. And like you just said, I mean, I know we beat a dead horse here, but I do think, yeah, I mean, you got to ask for help. You got to be vulnerable. You got to be willing to talk about it, because that's the only way things will get better. And like you said, if you want a high quality of life, and you have a family and kids, and all those things, you want to be the best version of yourself, and that's the best way to do it. So